The portrait of Giovanni Arnolfini and his wife offers a wonderful glimpse into the worldly goods that Mary Hollingsworth talks about in her book The Cardinal's Hat, which you read this week. This painting, done in 1434 by Jan van Eyck, shows the culture of the Flemish city of Bruges and the wealth accumulated by merchants. There is some debate about which members of the Arnolfini family these two people are. Scholars have also debated what event this painting commemorates. Is it a marriage, or a memorial, or possibly a legal contract? No matter what the occasion for this painting, there is much to absorb the eye. Most viewers, on first glance, find it hard to get past the hat he's wearing. Indeed, it's big. It's a straw summer hat, and the season is early summer, as indicated by a cherry tree, not clearly visible in this copy of the painting. Even so, the couple are wearing expensive fur-trimmed clothes. On a second glance, many viewers ask, is she pregnant? She's probably not, but she is holding up a multi-layer dress, with fur and trim, all of which gives her a more rounded profile. A profile which was, no doubt, pleasing to her contemporaries. I can't help but find completely charming these little flip-flop-like shoes. You could buy something like them in any store now. I also like these shoes on the right, although you might not figure them out first thing. They are wooden clogs to keep your feet above the mud of the street. What this tells us is that the Arnolfinis live on or near a street that got wet or wasn't paved. People did the receiving in bedrooms like these, so the Oriental-style carpet is another touch of conspicuous wealth. By the way, I've stayed in homes without central heat that were located next to an unpaved street. In that situation, you would do exactly as this couple does. Keep the heavy clothes handy for colder days, have little shove-on slippers for indoors, and wear clogs in the street. This little mirror, with its amber beads hanging to one side and the bold scallop design around the edge, looks like things I've seen at IKEA from time to time. However, the 10 roundels show images from the Passion of the Christ, so that makes this mirror a religious reminder in a sober-minded home. The painter is reflected behind or in front of the couple. On the left, you can see the shutter and window glass inset with colored edge pieces. It's like a little piece of everyday beauty. There's a single candle lit in the chandelier, an elaborate and expensive brass affair. In an odd spiky way, it's pretty. Dogs are symbolic of fidelity, and no doubt the dog is serving a symbolic function. But, in the detail and alert expression, we also have a real dog. Then and now, is there anything that more clearly says, we have time and money to spare, than a cute little furry lapdog like this? It's hard to say whether or not this is a likable face. Certainly Giovanni looks like a man who has thought through what he hopes to accomplish in life. Hers is also an individualistic face, but with its eyes downcast, it's harder to see her as much more than a good wife. If you'd like to look at this portrait in detail, follow the link at the end of this show. Scholars have had a long-standing and lively discussion of this painting, so I've also included an interesting website that analyzes this portrait in more depth. Shifting to another painting, this is one of 2 remaining panels from the Wuerl altarpiece, painted for a wealthy donor in Cologne, Germany, in 1438. It shows St. Barbara, a popular medieval martyr, famous for standing by her faith and consequently being imprisoned and killed by her father. She is a 3rd century saint, but rather than being shown in a historical 3rd century setting, she was painted in a totally contemporary setting for 1434. Look at the details of home life. The seat back rotates so that you can sit facing the fire, or you can turn around as she has done and sit with your back to the fire. Perfect for those days when you just can't get warm on both sides. At the left, there is a stool or a little table, on which is a silver pitcher holding an exquisite flower. On the bench are expensive red cushions, and her own clothes are silk and velvet. Her hair is also carefully curled. You can also see the elaborate tiling on the fireplace, the tall iron fire guard, the heavily carved sideboard, sturdily paneled ceiling, and a view of a tower. In the story, this is the tower in which she was later imprisoned. Sailing across the sky are big cumulus clouds. It's something like an early spring day, with a fire necessary, but the jointed shutters open for light. St. Barbara has access to books, and untroubled leisure to read intently. To St. Barbara's right, you see a white towel hanging above a silver pitcher and wash basin. Above the fireplace is a swinging candlestick, and on a corner shelf is a water-filled vase. The little statue directly over the fireplace is a representation of the Trinity. Each item almost glows. St. Barbara was beheaded by her father for allowing a priest to baptize her, and indeed this picture suggests a serious-minded young woman intent on finding out a truth. But in an odd way, the message of St. Barbara is running in competition with a luminous celebration of beautiful stuff. Maybe it would be like looking at Mother Teresa in a Homes and Gardens photo spread. We might find that juxtaposition jarring. It's interesting to wonder how these 1434 worshippers saw this work of art. What we do know is that as the Renaissance progressed into the Reformation, works of art that were explicitly about biblical or Christian themes began to be augmented by works of art that were simply about the good life. In a sense, these subjects have had a very long classical history. You might like to look up the creeping cat mosaic from the House of the Faun in Pompeii. But in Europe, genre productions of still life paintings are new expressions of wealth and ownership. You see here a closely detailed piece called Breakfast Table with Blackberry Pie from 1631. The Dutch painter, Willem Claus Hede, specialized in this kind of monochrome work. If you'd like to see his rendition of oysters and how he managed to do his work efficiently, follow the link at the end of this show. The impulse to document daily life was especially part of Dutch culture. By the 1600s, the Dutch were renowned for tough trading, clean living, and eating very well. The woman on the left is Peter Paul Rubens' second wife, Helene Foment. He was 53 and she was 16 when they married. She would have been about 21 or 22 when he painted this picture in 1635. I am cheered, as we all might be, to see her abundance of good health. As you will learn later, in the reading from The Little Ice Age, the key to surviving an epidemic was often simply regular access to reasonable nutrition. I include the picture on the right so that you can see how Rubens chose to depict his family together. And notice that his child is apparently on some kind of a leash. It gives us a highly stylized view of his wife, whom he loved dearly, but it also offers a little glimpse into child-rearing techniques. Rubens himself was subject to gout or possibly arthritis, and his attention to bodily health shows up in his other works. I include a link at the end if you'd like to learn more about how a doctor has looked at Rubens's work.